Greetings, fellow detectives. Wizard Kitten here, bringing you a new Nancy Drew analysis video. Today's video is brought to you by the patrons over at Mystique Manor, and by all the official Fellow Detective channel members. If you too would like to support the channel and gain access to exclusive features, check out patreon.com/wizardkitten to become a patron, or click join next to the subscribe button to become an official fellow detective. Today's video is the first of what I hope will be many more videos like it. One of you fellow detectives mentioned to me that it would be interesting to look into individual Nancy Drew games and explore some of the central themes or deeper meanings of each game, almost like a literature analysis. Since analysis is kind of my thing, I was immediately drawn to this idea. For these kinds of videos, I will take a single Nancy Drew game and describe what I think we can learn from it. Because these videos will be in-depth explorations, there will be spoilers for the game in question, including plot, character, and culprit spoilers. You have been warned. For the first of these videos, I wanted to start with Danger on Deception Island, the 9th mystery in the Nancy Drew series, and one that has always impressed me for its brilliant atmosphere, hilarious phone friends, realistic characters, natural puzzles, and meaningful story. Danger on Deception Island has a lot to teach us, but for this video, I'm going to focus on the central theme of values. The central conflict of Danger on Deception Island is that there is a lone orca who has been separated from its pod and is swimming around Snake Horse Harbor. What's especially interesting about this central conflict is that every character has a completely different take on what to do about this orca, with some characters overlapping somewhat in their opinions and others being completely opposed. Naturally, this results in a great deal of conflict among the characters, with some feeling like complete outcasts because of their views, and others building tentative alliances to further their agendas. When it comes down to it, all of these characters have different opinions because of their different values. Katie Firestone is the first character we meet. She's a marine biologist who works in Snake Horse Harbor, and so her opinions are based on how she values science, research, and evidence-based decisions. When the orca started getting too close to boats, Katie contacted the National Marine Fishery Service, who started running tests and ordered all other boats to stay away or risk paying a fine. Katie agrees with researching the orca and believes that if she is found to be sick, she should be shipped to a research facility for further tests. She acknowledges the burden that the no-boat zone rule places on others, but believes that studying the orca is worth the trouble. We also learn from Andy Jason later on that because Katie is a researcher, she doesn't have to obey the no-boat zone and has special permissions from the National Marine Fisheries Service. This understandably creates some feelings of resentment amongst the other characters. One of these other characters is Holt Scotto, a fisherman who is currently running for the local political office of Harbor Master. He says that he is doing so because he is sick of scientists and environmentalists minimizing the needs of hardworking people who make a living by working out in the harbor. For Holt, his opinions are based in his values of hard work, prioritizing the immediate needs of people, and financial well-being. He believes that people who have other priorities are to heck with everybody else crusader types, who just don't care about real people who are trying to make a living. Holt considers Katie to be hypocritical and meddlesome, and he also believes that nothing should be done about the orca, and that people, especially fishermen, should be allowed to go about their business. While he is firmly rooted in his own beliefs, he doesn't create much room for those who have differing opinions. Holt has something of an alliance with Jenna Devlin, who, even if she has different opinions about the whale, at least is a Snake Horse Harbor local and is therefore more grounded, in his view, than someone like Katie. Jenna is the owner of the local Hot Kettle Cafe, an establishment that has been a fixture in Snake Horse Harbor for quite some time. Her values are rooted in community and continuity. Jenna believes that the orca should be reunited with its pod immediately, and that further interference is only a weakly veiled scheme to get the orca into an aquarium. Like Holt, she believes that Katie is meddlesome and flouts her fancy schmancy science degree as though she thinks that she is better than everyone else in their small town community. Jenna is committed to protecting the integrity of her community, but at the expense of potentially welcoming an outsider. Finally, we have Andy Jason, the owner of Whale World, a local whale museum and whale watching tour business. Andy doesn't really seem to have strong negative feelings towards any of the residents of Snakehorse Harbor, but rather is more committed to his business. He values his success and ambition in his work, and also says that he is passionate about creating a deeper appreciation for wildlife. Andy says that the orca should simply be left alone, citing that humans so often seem to think that they know best and usually create more problems than they solve when they get involved. He also resents that Katie's business is flourishing because of the whale, but he isn't allowed to get nearly as close, so he keeps losing paying customers to her. Ultimately, Andy seems to prioritize his own needs and is less interested in the involvement and opinions of others, believing that if it isn't his problem, then he doesn't really care. This keeps Andy less biased and emotional, but can also make him more isolated and removed. When we look down from the balcony at the landscape of opinions in Snakehorse Harbor, we can clearly see conflicting values resulting in animosity. Holt and Jenna have more respect for one another. Andy lands somewhere in the middle and feels a bit more neutral, while Katie is framed as the town antagonist, the one who is working against the people and for her own interests. What is interesting here is how all of these characters lead from their values, but struggle to empathize with the values of those with whom they disagree. They are all convinced of their own rightness, unwilling to see how the same situation might be interpreted differently by different people with different value systems. What we can learn from this is that we do not have to agree with someone's opinions to understand how their values are informing their justifications. When we accept that, in the grand scheme of life, there is no one right, true, black and white answer to the mysteries of the world, we can hold more space for others while also living true to our own values. Understanding where someone is coming from does not mean that we endorse what they are saying or believe, but that we recognize their humanity. On a personal level, this kind of compassion can make a big difference. We see this difference exemplified by another character in Danger on Deception Island, Hilda Swenson. Hilda is probably the best non-recurring phone friend in the entire Nancy Drew series, because she feels like a complete character who we can easily visualize despite never having met her in person. A big reason for this is that Hilda makes it abundantly clear who she is, what she values, and why she is at peace with her decisions. Hilda used to be a major figure in Snakehorse Harbor, often holding political office, but even more importantly, being the glue of the community by knowing everyone, making them feel important, and seeing the individuality that each citizen brought to their small town. Hilda was welcoming, sociable, friendly, and committed, but that doesn't mean that she went about people-pleasing either. She operated from her own value system, confident in her beliefs, which meant that she was able to hold space for others as well without feeling threatened. When Nancy first meets Hilda, it's because of a hidden puzzle that could only be discovered by someone voracious enough to collect floating glass bottles from all over the island and put them together to discover their hidden meaning. Hilda wanted to work with someone who cared enough and was curious, someone who aligned with her values. As we get to know her, however briefly, throughout the mystery, Hilda reveals that she didn't really go crazy when her husband died, as most of the town believed. She missed him terribly, but she chose isolation because she wanted peace of mind and comfort. After a lifetime of serving others, Hilda decided it was time to make a decision for herself. She had always valued care, compassion, and conscientiousness, and she knew it was time to retire and extend that same compassion towards herself. It was time to rest. But she couldn't rest fully until she took care of one final thing. Hilda realized that she made a mistake and left behind important information that was now allowing people to use the hidden tunnels on the island for nefarious purposes. The messages that she sent and the puzzles that she left behind could only be solved by someone who cared a whole awful lot, which meant that person would not give up in the face of adversity, but rather persist until the job was complete. This is how she finds Nancy, and how she is able to find peace. Hilda made a lot of decisions that seemed to go against what the other townspeople would expect. She went from being a central social figure to being a recluse. She started sending weird messages about town. She gave people cryptic gifts with hidden clues. She chose to not socialize with Jenna when Jenna brought her groceries. She did all of these things that her community members had opinions about, calling her odd, strange, and a hermit who had lost her marbles. And yet she is not at all bothered, because she found confidence in who she was and knew that she was making the right decisions for herself, regardless of whatever anyone else thought. As the townspeople continue to argue about the fate of the orca, they might consider Hilda's approach. There is no right answer about what to do, but each individual does have their own right answer rooted in their values. When we understand that we are doing the right thing for ourselves, regardless of what others believe, then we feel much less of a need to justify our actions, debate their validity, and convince others that we are in the right. When we approach problems with this mindset, the problem becomes a lot less personal and aggressive. It becomes about finding a solution rather than about who is right and who is wrong. Now, of course, this kind of approach works much better on a personal and local level than it does when hundreds of thousands of opinions are involved. But regardless, Danger on Deception Island shows us what it means when we live life according to our values. Thus, to sum it all up, the deeper meaning of Danger on Deception Island is that when we are guided by our values, we are much more likely to live a peaceful, fulfilling life. Peace is not found by convincing others that they are wrong and that our way is better, but rather by living into what we know is right, confident that our lives are full and meaningful. We can still disagree, and on a grand scale, we can still vote against things that we do not support and make decisions contrary to the decisions of others. Sometimes our beliefs will win, and sometimes they will lose. Sometimes the system is unfair. I personally really struggle when I see examples of what I believe is wrong in the world, and I'm a lot more inclined to feel, think, and act like Jenna, Katie, or Holt, expressing my beliefs about the wrongness, feeling frustrated that nothing seems to change, and feeling animosity towards those who do not agree. And yet, I see the example of Hilda's piece. Control what we can, release what we can't, feel inspired by the goodness in the world, and stay conscious and critical of what is wrong. Hold space for others without losing ourselves. This doesn't mean just be happy and don't feel bothered by the decisions and actions that conflict with our values, negatively impact our lives, and hurt others. Far from it. Our beliefs, rooted in our experiences, make us who we are, and we should be thoughtful and critical of those beliefs which do not align. But we can do that a lot more effectively when we are not also blinded by disdain. This, in my opinion, is the deeper meaning of Danger on Deception Island. But what do you think, fellow detectives? What do you think is the theme of Danger on Deception Island? What is the deeper meaning? What can we learn from this game? Let a wizard kitten know in the comment section down below. If you really enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like button or tipping me for the video with a super thanks next to the download button right beneath the video. If you would like to come join a fantastic group of fellow detectives at Mystique Manor as a patron for the channel, gain access to exclusive content, and support the making of more content like this, please check out patreon.com/wizardkitten. I also have channel memberships with exclusive badges and emojis to use during streams and in the comment section. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming an official fellow detective, click join next to the subscribe button. Please feel free to follow the channel on Instagram or Discord, linked in the description box down below. And as always, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more Nancy Drew and Sims 4 content. Thank you so much for watching, fellow detectives. I will see you soon.